What's up, y'all? It's your man B. I am the brand. You can find me at the Drum Call on IG. What's good? You know, I'm about to do my little book report for y'all. You know, I'm trying to enlighten the masses. So today, I got the Zombie Survival Guide for you. You know, take a good look at it. It's by Max Brooks. This joint is really good. It's funny. You know, it's relevant, especially now. Uh, I got Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. Really good book. You know, check it out. And I got The Histories by Herodotus. We're gonna check this one out too. This is a really good book for my history buffs, for references. Let's get right to it. So, the Zombie Survival Guide. Like I said, this is a really good book. I really enjoy reading it. It goes on about how to survive during the zombie apocalypse. So, and it's crazy because in this book, the zombie apocalypse started viral. So that gives you something to think about right there. Of course, it's a fictional book, but it has real life applications. It goes into detail about the history of zombies, you know, Hollywood zombies, voodoo zombies, and you know how these particular zombies in this book originated and how they detected it, the outbreaks, the containment issues, and stuff like that. Then it goes on to tell you about like the weapons to have. So you gotta have your machete because that's like the most versatile knife or blade that you can have out there in the wild when you're fighting these zombies. And then you gotta have your gat. You gotta have your strap because if you don't, you're gonna get caught. But you always gotta have bullets though. That's the thing. So you know it's a lot going on out there. Then you gotta know your close quarter combat, like in The Walking Dead. You know, Shorty was out there with the samurai sword, cutting off heads and shit. Wop, wop, wop. But yeah, this joint really good. You know, you gotta know your different firearms. You gotta know how to keep your armor. You know, have your stuff around your neck so you won't get bit. You know, you gotta have your defensive strategies. It goes on and on about that. How to continue on the run, how to continue on the attack, and then living with the undead. Cause you know, once it break out, it's pretty much you're gonna be living with it. So it's a crazy book. It's a must-have. You know, especially in the day and age with that thing going around, and for the reason why we in the house now. But yeah, check this joint out right here. You know what I'm saying? The Zombie Survival Guide is really good, and it's the first book in the series of the zombie series. So you got World War Z that's after that too, which they made a movie out of. I'll talk about that one later on in another video. But Stolen Legacy, this is it right here. This is what got me on to my path. You know, for my enlightenment at least. When I first encountered Stolen Legacy, I probably have read the miseducation of the Negro and you know stuff like that. But Stolen Legacy put me on to the Egyptian side, the African side of us, you know, and you know we always had the tradition of looking at Egypt, since it's from Africa, in the light of black people, even though, again, it's contrary to whiter views that, you know, the Egyptians were white and so on and so forth. But this book, you know, it really put me on to thinking differently about the whole thing, especially about philosophy. The way he put the book about, you know, he talks about how the Greek philosophy was stolen from the Egyptian philosophy. I wouldn't really say stolen, you know, through all my research. I would probably say it was more influenced, highly influenced by the Egyptian culture, stolen much later on in the Ptolemy era. It tells you how the Greek philosophy is actually an offspring from the Egyptian mystery system, and then it lists the pre-Socratic philosophers that were influenced by it, but had their work attributed to them rather than the Egyptians. And this includes Pythagoras, with his union of opposites, the transmigration, the summum bonum, or supreme good in man, and how to become godlike, his cosmology. Then you have Xenophanes and the unity of God, and Heraclitus, the doctrine of opposites, and it goes on to talk about Athenian philosophers as well, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, and it goes in its conclusion. It shows the mystery systems and how it actually is related to what the Greeks learned from it. So it's really informative when it comes to learning the origin of where all this Greek philosophy that's thrown at us is from, because they act like this stuff came out of thin air, that some of these philosophers were just sitting around pondering these equations and stuff, and it just fell into their idea from nowhere. No, these are thousands of years of foundations of mathematics, cosmology, spirituality, and so forth, that has been passed down through the Egyptian mysteries and other schools of philosophy that that they used to create their own. And we're going to get more into detail in that with the Histories by Herodotus, which is one of the foremost authorities of ancient history. So that's why I read this book. That's what prompted me to read this book. You see how thick it is. It's about 1,000 pages, but a book like this, I read like 10 or 15 pages a day, and did it like that because it's too. The chapters are way too long to just read, daily. You gotta have a lot of time on your hands to do that. But like I said, it's a really good book. If you ever seen the movie 300, this is what that movie is from. This is the book where it's from. You had Xerxes and my man from Sparta, and they fought at the in Thermopylae and whatever. But this is where this is from. But however, Herodotus accounts are much different because we all know that they romanticized the whole story. The 300 attack actually did happen, but it was way too many Persians. Darius was way too strong. Xerxes was way too strong, and they eventually just took over. But anyway, going back to this book, this definitely confirms stolen legacy. It definitely confirms stolen legacy. And that's why I read, when you have books today that make certain claims, you gotta go back to the origins of it. You gotta go back to the earliest writings about that certain subject for you to get a better understanding of what that claim is saying, or if it's accurate or not. And as far as stolen legacy, it's very accurate, according to Herodotus. And I take Herodotus' word for it over, George G.M. James, because, Herodotus was there during the times when this was going on. So he goes into detail about the Egyptians, Africa, Asia, and European history. So when talking about it, he talks about how the Hellenes or the Greeks were highly influenced by Egypt and Persia. And it goes on to describe how the Egyptians look, which 100% confirms all black people's belief that the Egyptians were black. So that's cool. It says on page 111 of book 2, it says on verse 104, for the people of Chalcis are evidently Egyptian, as I perceived myself before I heard it from others. So when I had come to consider the matter, I asked them both. And the Chaldeans had remembrance of the Egyptians more than the Egyptians of the Chaldeans. But the Egyptians said they believed that the Chaldeans were a portion of the army of Sesostris. Sesostris is Senusret the first, pharaoh of Egypt. That this was so, I conjectured myself, not only because they are dark-skinned and have curly hair. This of itself amounts to nothing, for there are other races which are so, but more because the Chaldean Egyptians and Ethiopians alone of all races of men have practiced circumcision of the genitals from the first. The Phoenicians and the Syrians in Palestine confess themselves that they have learned it from the Egyptians. So it tells you right there that the people of Palestine learned it from the Egyptians. You know who are the people from Palestine are, right, at this time? These are the Jews. So there you go. You know, it confirms, you know, we can go on to another part where it says, as one passes towards the southwest, the Ethiopians' land is that which extends furthest of all inhabited lands toward the sunset. This produces both gold in abundance and huge elephants and trees of all kinds, growing wild and ebony, and men who are the tallest, the most beautiful, and the most long-lived. Again, this confirms who we are, you know. And back then, Ethiopia and Libya and Egypt was all considered Africa. Those were like the big regions in Africa. So you had Libya, which was the northwest. You had Egypt, which was the east, and then you had the rest, which was Ethiopia. So Egyptian territory extended from some of the Asian Peninsula on down to about the Horn of Africa. And then you have Ethiopia from the Horn of Africa all the way towards the west. So those were the three main parts of Africa at that time, and recognized that was part of Africa. Yeah, so this, I mean, like I said, this book goes on into about Xerxes and Darius. It goes on about Alexander. It talks about the different pharaohs. It talks about their culture, the tradition, their explorations, how there was a pharaoh back then who circumnavigated all of Africa. That's why, if you want to really get into African history, especially dealing with Egypt or Libya and Ethiopia, this will be one of my go-tos. You know, this, because if you don't have a book specifically about specifically dealing with Egypt from that time, or if you're not able to go to the monuments, then this is a book to read, you know, to really get an understanding of practices and tradition at that time. Like I said, it's a really good book. Check it out. This is my third video on, you know, my book reports. Let me know how I did. Tell me what I can do better. You know, check me out next time.